Welcome back, everybody, to the Culture Cast, Gold Standard Culture. We're back, episode 8. Thank you, Dom, for showing up again. Uh, Still kind of slow with everything going, but the USA Showcase games have begun. It's been pretty interesting. I think US is kind of just bulldozing at the moment. Mostly, some injuries are kind of hurting other teams, especially because when Luka is the guy getting hurt, I'd say that's a little bit little bit of an impact, just a little bit. Giannis, he's hurt too, which sucks for Greece. But we'll be covering today the James Harden situation with Philly. Some more drama is going on there. Interesting dynamic happening. We'll be covering a little bit of Jonathan Kuminga's 60 bomb in the Crawsover League. I think it was his debut actually in the Crawsover League. We're going to cover the opening night slate, the Christmas Day slate, a couple of the home openers, which have some, I guess history tied to them. And then the in-season tournament, kind of briefly go over what that's going to look like a bit, the dates and everything, and, stuff that we could potentially see. And then we kind of wanted to get into FIBA and just cover the couple US showcase games because it's been pretty crazy. These guys are playing pretty good basketball to start. I think we all talk about as fans just kind of super teams and that dynamic. And you can have all these great players, but it's hard to get egos to mesh and chemistry to form. But it's funny when you take the money out of it and when you just say, hey, we're just playing basketball for fun, everybody plays well. So if you don't believe ego and chemistry matters, that should be the perfect kind of, symbol that, yeah, when money comes into it, everybody starts to get a little antsy. So that's how we're going to start things off. Philly ending trade talks with Harden. They're planning to bring him back and try to work it out with him. We're briefly starting this off talking about how could be a potential trade deadline thing that they're doing. How do you view the situation with James Harden and the 76ers?
Yeah, I think they're kind of messing up in a way because you're creating an awkward situation, a hostile work environment. But overall, I understand their reasoning for it. And like you mentioned before we started, trade value. That's the biggest issue as of right now. The trade value is not there. They didn't find a package they liked, and they have to regroup, get the season going, get them to play better, raise that trade value up a bit more. So I understand their point of view. But overall, he could also just hold out like he already is at training camp. We'll have to see. He doesn't seem like a guy I think will hold out for the regular season, but you never know. Seems pretty common nowadays. But I think they're going to figure it out. It's just I definitely don't see him there past February. I don't see it.
Yeah, and in all fairness, or I wouldn't even say in all fairness, but to just kind of keep it a buck with Harden, we did see in Houston that Fat James Harden came to play. When he wanted out. He did not take that cardio seriously at all. So, I hope that's not the situation in Philly. It does not feel anywhere near as toxic a situation as Houston was at the end of the 29th of the 2020 season. So, I feel like he should, things should be kind of on the up and up. I think Philly's handling this well. You sign this guy to a 3-year deal and all of a sudden he wants out, like, again, how many times do we have to bring it up that these contracts, it's just getting ridiculous because the players, they could just get out whenever they want and the teams don't really have much of an option anymore. You were talking about kind of, it's tough with Harden because last season, I think was the first time we saw James Harden truly take the playmaking role and just really step back from scoring. We've seen LeBron take that approach at times. We see superstars when they get into their later years, they kind of become more of playmakers. Could be a health thing. Let's preserve our body a little bit more. Where do you think James Harden is in this stage of his career? Philly trying to move off of him. What do you think maybe his value is where he's at right now?
33 off the top of my head, I believe, or 34.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Never had any major injury issues. I know the hamstring has bothered him in the past, and it's kind of hindered his play as of recently. He definitely doesn't have that quick first step like he did back in Houston. He's definitely slowed down on that edge. Obviously, the scoring's down. The playmaking, I personally think he's a top 3 playmaker in the league. He's fantastic playmaking wise. He takes it a lot more seriously now. He's not a turnover machine. He is a great playmaker. I 100% stand by that. I love watching him play, but this day and age, I think you could fetch a possible younger player that's promising and some draft capital. I don't think he's going to get you a Paul George Hall like you saw a few years ago. I don't think he's going to get anything like that anymore. I don't think he's going to get you a James Harden Hall to Philadelphia, maybe even in 2021. I don't think he gets that anymore. I don't see him pulling that same attraction as of right now. He averaged, I believe, 22 to 21 last year. Solid efficiency, but you're getting Harden. You're getting a primary ball handler that's not going to try to score the ball as much as he used to. You're getting a questionable defender nowadays. He's been questionable for years, but the playmaking is what you're trading for. I don't necessarily see fit for him on a lot of teams anymore like I did a few years ago. He's not a scorer like he was. Like I mentioned, he's just not. It's not his game anymore. He's not that. So you're trading for a playmaker that has the ability to score, but how well is he going to do it? And he showed in the playoffs last year, he still can at times. Against the Celtics in a few games, he had great showings. In the first round, he had great showings. But year before, against the Heat, he was pretty bad. And I mean, I know the whole year he just had should throw that away, but you still got to look at stuff like that. He's a very questionable scorer nowadays. He's not what he was. I don't personally think he can go out there. I don't even know if he could average 25 anymore at this point. But it's tough to see that. It's sad to see the older guys I grew up watching decline. But it's just how basketball goes. So I think you can still get a solid package out of him. Don't really know what he fetches anymore. I was thinking of an option, like a trade partner, maybe the Knicks. I was thinking of someone like that going for something. But then again, they already have Brunson. But I could see like an RJ Barrett type player maybe on a questionable contract with picks attached to it. I can't really think of that many off the top of my head. He's in a really weird situation in his career. He's at a really weird stage. It's kind of hard to see what he fetches at this day and age.
Yeah, and I think you brought it up too with the playmaking. It's a similar thing that we see with guys like Trae Young. I think Chris Paul should be in that category, but Chris Paul, career 4-to-1 assist turnover ratio, arguably a top 3 playmaker ever.
Yes.
At least at point guard with Magic, John Stockton, him, like Oscar Robertson. There's not many guys, Steve Nash, that you can really, Jason Kidd, that you can really put in that class.
Yeah.
Harden is not there.
No.
Harden, like for this generation at this stage, good playmaker. Yeah. But I think what we've seen, and this has always been Harden's game, but I think because the athleticism and the shot creation have died down, you're really seeing how reliant he is in pick and roll.
Big time.
James Harden outside of pick and roll is just anemic. He is not the guy he was in Houston. And whether it's the hamstring or not, because that was a very funky situation.
Yeah.
Hamstrings don't typically do that to you.
No.
Where it's like this 3-4 year long lingering thing. That's just like, I haven't seen that. Maybe that is a thing and I'm just ignorant to the situation. I don't know. But to me, it just like, it's almost like Russ where you just know, man, you need game after the athleticism goes. Like everybody who relies on their athleticism, you need to add more. That's why I think we were praising Blake Griffin so much, because he's been able to just completely reimagine his style of play based on losing athleticism. And, being so reliant in pick and roll, like you said, he needs the ball. He's not an off-ball guy. You need to if you want to maximize 2023-24 James Harden, you got to put the ball in his hands and you got to run a lot of pick and roll. The same high pick and roll as always. The issue we saw with Ben Simmons and Embiid almost shows with Philly with Embiid and Harden. It's like Harden's pick and roll. He wants to get to the cup because he wants to get to the line.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons wants to get to the cup because he can't shoot. So it's like you're almost running with the same dynamic because James Harden just isn't the same shot creator. Yeah. And I think the other issue is you talk about playoffs, like we could bring up the few games where James Harden goes off.
Yeah.
But I think for his career, Harden is like a notoriously just lackluster playoff performer.
Yeah.
Always seems to come up short, always seems to, just not have it when it's needed. And, I think teams kind of are aware of that. And we talk about, hey, deadline push. I think teams are like, dude, we know who James Harden is.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to take a chance on a guy that just can never prove it on the big stage, that at this point is not going to be scoring 25 plus, needs to play pick and roll basketball. I think teams are fully aware of who he is. And I think that's something that's hurting his game. It's the same reason Philly kind of had to swing, really swing down to get rid of Ben Simmons, because teams know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very tough situation. I think it's going to be a deadline move, but I'm very interested to see and like what teams are going to be like, yeah, we'll take a chance, because I do think the Knicks are a team. I think you're right that RJ Barrett has been in talks for a couple of years now, and again, with the whole Thibodeau situation, you just never know. One day you're his favorite player, the next day you're lucky to see the floor in garbage time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if RJ Barrett is going to be there for the long haul, but with Jalen Brunson there, yeah, it's going to be clogged up. But it's like, it feels like unless you're without a point guard, it's just naturally going to happen if you bring in James Harden. So
yeah,
I don't know. Interesting situation there, but Philly ending trade talks with him with the Clippers off the table apparently. So moving on from there, Jonathan Kuminga. We talked about last week, Marjon Beauchamp, I think in his debut as well, dropped 80 points in his debut crossover game in Pro-Am. Jonathan Kuminga comes in on his debut and drops 60. Okay. And I was talking to Dom before this, I've seen all over the Warriors pages, all the Kuminga highlights. And like I said, with Beauchamp, it's, anytime you do something like that, it's cool. It's just like those kind of feats are awesome. But I think as a Warriors fan, I haven't watched enough Marjon Beauchamp. He just hasn't played enough with the Bucks. The Bucks, they're not in a spot like the Warriors where they kind of had to run with the young guys. The Bucks didn't need to play Beauchamp at all, really, unless like they were like, okay, he's really earned it. Kuminga had to play. So I've watched Kuminga quite a bit. I've watched every Warriors game for aside from a couple over the last 3 years. The issue with Kuminga is on paper, this dude already is disgusting. The athleticism is uncanny. The defense is there. The shot creation is better than advertised at this stage. I remember watching his G League Ignite games. He had some mid-range to him. And you see in games sometimes, what the hell did I just see? Kind of shots, but they go in because he could get up over guys, kind of like Jaylen Brown, The three ball, it's ugly, but shockingly it goes in. His percentage from three this past season went up quite a bit. And sustainable. It's not like, he had a stretch where it was good, like in 2022. He's been consistent with the three, getting it better and better. I think the issue with Kuminga is his decision-making. In a Pro-Am game, you're not really playing against elite talent. We talk about it. It's still good. They're better. It's better than going to the YMCA and hooping, but you're not playing NBA guys. And when you watch Jonathan Kuminga play against NBA guys, you really see man, he's got so much talent right now, but he just doesn't have the decision-making and the mental understanding of the game just yet to really make an impact. But in a game like this, it can almost trick you into thinking, yeah, he's ready for the big stage. So for the Warriors fans, for people seeing this Jonathan Kuminga game, just be aware. This is very much I wouldn't even say Fugazi, but this is if Jonathan Kuminga comes up to your high school, that's what you're going to see. But it's not going to look like that in the NBA. It's taking time. He's only 21. All right. It's going to be a while before he gets to that Pascal Siakam sort of style where it's yeah, okay, now we're rolling. So, what did you think of the Jonathan Kuminga game? I know I kind of rambled there, but how did you see it? What were some things that tipped you off? Because I don't know, maybe you don't know enough about Jonathan Kuminga, and to you this was holy shit, this dude's insane. I'm
aware of who he is. He's a great athlete. A few years ago, he was in some Thunder mock, so I looked into him a bit. He's a fun player for sure. He's a very, very strong dude. He's a great cutter from what I've seen from Warrior games. I know he had a few issues last year with the Warriors. Was it Kerr that he was having issues with about his playing time? And he was disappointed with the playing time. I understand that as a young guy, but it's just how it is sometimes in the league. I didn't really get to watch too much of the game, the Pro-Am game. I saw like
The
highlights.
highlights, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very young player still, lots to learn. I could definitely see him being a very great role player in the next few years.
Mm.
Very solid guy. He's not bad whatsoever. I know he's had stretches where he's had great stretches, and he looks amazing. He's I believe 6'7", 6'8".
6'8". He's
Yeah,
gonna. I mean, again, kind of like we saw with Giannis early in
yeah,
Milwaukee. He just kept growing.
yeah.
So Kuminga,
No.
I think is like 6'8", but it might be one of those like KD things where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
actually
six
taller than
ten,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
he's a phenomenal athlete, like world class
yeah,
athlete, no doubt. So I'm not very shocked by that. It's a world because an NBA player, world class athlete, and I shouldn't even say world class athlete. He's above that. He's one of the best athletes that you'll
he
see.
jumps out of the gym. Yeah,
It's so stupid how how
yeah,
big that guy is and how he's able to jump that high. It's ridiculous, but I it makes sense. That's all I can really say is that I understand it. It's the crossover league. It makes sense. There's a lot of fun games, but anytime someone does that, it's still really fun to see, and it should just put you into perspective. Like I said last time, it puts you in perspective just how good these guys are, and
yeah,
like really lets you know.
yeah. Debut, come in, drop 80. Debut,
Yeah,
come in, drop 60.
yeah,
It's pretty
nothing.
crazy.
I'm sweating. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So kind of wanted to briefly touch on Chris Paul's impact and what he can do for Jonathan Kuminga. We talk about the athleticism of Kuminga. I think the big thing is anytime you have one of these tweener forwards where it's like they're not quite big and strong enough or have the play style of a center, but they're also a little too big to where you don't really want them running point or, having the ball in their hands a lot. They're kind of stuck in a weird spot. But we talk about a Chris Paul kind of guy, arguably one of the best playmakers of all time. And one of the things Chris Paul is like notoriously good at is just making big men infinitely better. We look at DeAndre Jordan. Who did he have his best years with? Chris Paul. DeAndre Ayton was almost going to be a bust. Then who came in? Chris Paul. So many guys experience, like get the Chris Paul experience and just their careers as big men take off. So I'm very interested to see if Chris Paul can kind of, take a Jonathan Kuminga and really carve out a role for him to where Kuminga can excel every time he's on the floor and where it's not a situation where Steve Kerr's like, you do a lot of good things, but the stuff that you can't do, it hurts the team. And that's been the issue so far in Kuminga's tenure is it's like, man, the perimeter defense is really good. The transitional athleticism is very good. He can occasionally hit that corner three. But other than that, it's a tough play because he still has a lot of turnovers. He doesn't have quick decision-making just yet. So it's just, it gets a little ugly. And that's why he didn't play in the Lakers series. That was the main reason is the decision-making. So, again, you're kind of putting you on the spot, but what do you think? Like, do you think Chris Paul can really make a big impact for Kuminga? Because we already talked about a bit to start after the draft of Trace Jackson Davis and that impact. But what do you think about Kuminga with him?
yeah. I think personally, Kuminga is a weird player, like you mentioned, a tweener. He isn't the greatest 3-point shooter, but like you mentioned, he's definitely not bad whatsoever. I believe he shot a decent 30% last year. I believe 35, 36 range.
Yeah, he climbed up from his
Yeah.
rookie year.
Yeah, not even on a bad amount of attempts too. I would want to say like at least 2. I mean, he's someone that I think with more time, and like you mentioned, he needs to carve out a role. He needs to polish his games in some areas, obviously. But Chris Paul, someone like having like that come in, you're playing into a system that Chris Paul he's gonna slow down the game for you. Maybe that helps Kuminga's playmaking and also IQ his decision making. You have someone like Moses Moody who's going to benefit greatly playing with Chris Paul. You have a bunch of young guys who are going to play so much better with Chris Paul. Like Clay mentioned the other day, or not Clay, I'm sorry, Draymond mentioned Chris Paul is great with younger guys. He trains them. He makes them better. It's just common sense. It's happened over the years. We've seen it with so many players.
Shea,
So many players. On the Thunder, he was a blessing to have. There's so many young players that benefited great playing with him. So I definitely think someone like that will come in, and hopefully he will come off the bench because I know I've seen things where it might not be that way, but I think it most likely will. And I think Kuminga in a few years, he's one of the guys, him and Moody are some of my favorite younger guys in the league right now. They're very fun to watch. Definitely Moody, though. I'm very excited to see what he brings this year.
Yeah, I think in this last playoffs, Moses Moody definitely came alive and showed that he's a good player in this league. But
Oh yeah.
we were talking about, I don't, it might have been before we started. Sorry, I can't remember, but you brought up Kuminga and if he was having some issues with Steve Kerr, with the playing time. That's one of the areas where Moses Moody excelled in, is
Yeah.
he wasn't getting playing time his rookie year. Now he wasn't getting any playing time. And he didn't take that as like an attack on his game. He didn't
Yeah.
take that as an attack on his character. For him, that was like, I got to get in the gym. I got to get stronger. I got to be able to move laterally better. I have to be better in my positioning defensively so I don't keep getting beat off the dribble. I have
Yeah.
to be able to, make an impact offensively, get into position, get open for passes from Draymond or get open in transition. Like Moses had to find ways to get into the game and really, really try and improve. And, Moses, I think we picked him 14 in
Yeah.
2021. We put Kuminga at 7, and I remember like a year before that draft, there were some mock drafts where Kuminga was going 1 or 2 or 3. Like there was a time where Jonathan Kuminga was like the best player in the draft. So, for him, it makes sense why he's like, hey man, you drafted me to be the next guy, and you're kind of treating me like I got picked in the 20s, you
Yeah.
know. But I think Kaminga is, he's a very hard worker, as you could see. Like
Yeah.
his game improves. But I think what Moses has that Kaminga doesn't, and I hope Chris Paul is the guy that can change that, is the mental fortitude.
Oh yeah.
Steve, every player that you've ever seen with Steve Kerr, it's like you're going to earn your minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just handing them out. He doesn't care where you are, who you are, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
Like I always remember, and I would look at it today, JaVale McGee carved out a role in this league because of Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr is like, you've earned your minutes. We're going to start playing you. And then JaVale gets a contract with LA and wins another championship. Dallas, Fiend, like he helps dudes get into their own. So I hope that Chris Paul can kind of be that for Jonathan Kuminga, because right now there's almost a reality check in order for Jonathan Kuminga where it's like, look, dude, you're not in Detroit. You're not in Houston. It's not just like play 30 minutes. Who cares about the win or loss? Take 20 shots. Yeah. You're playing to win here, and that's invaluable. So you have to earn it. And I think we're seeing Jonathan Kuminga take those steps, but I think Chris Paul is going to greatly impact that. And I think you brought it up very well about Chris Paul's impact with the other young guys.
Oh yeah.
Moving on from there, we wanted to briefly get into the opening night slate, which has quite a few interesting matchups. The home opener between the Lakers and Suns in particular, which is Braun versus Kevin Durant, first time since 2019. Opening night slate, we're also going to talk about the Warriors versus Suns. First time Kevin Durant is playing in the Bay since he was a Warrior. And then briefly getting into the Christmas matchups and the in-season tournament. The in-season tournament's mostly going to just be dates because we don't know who's playing yet. Or I think we do, actually.
We've seen the brackets.
Yeah, we've seen the brackets. So we'll see what happens. God, it's gonna be so weird. I'm not used to this. Okay, it's all new for everybody. But yeah, so we'll briefly get into that. Opening night slate. You've got the helm here.
So we have the Phoenix Suns and the Warriors, and we have the Nuggets and the Lakers on opening night, which to me, that's a pretty fun opening night. Especially for me, I am juiced for the Suns Warriors game. Those are some of the most fun games last year. I know Phoenix was 3-1 last year, but the games were competitive. They were chippy. They were fun games. The year before is even very fun games. I wanted that Western Conference Finals matchup so bad in 2021, but Luka had to spoil it for us. But it's too much fun. I love watching the Warriors and the Suns. It's a great series. Every time they come together, it's always something. It's an amazing game. I'm very fond of it. I think that's the night game, if I'm correct. And the Nuggets Lakers will be the day game for not day, but I believe
like 4:00, the first one.
Yeah, the first game. But even that's you're getting a Western Conference Finals rematch. I know people are mentioning no one's going to watch the Nuggets for the ring ceremony, so they had to make it the Lakers so people viewership to it. But I still think it's a very fun game. You're seeing the new reloaded Laker team against champions who retained almost everyone except Bruce Brown pretty much. So
Yeah, and drafted pretty well. So
drafted very well, yeah. So you're watching
yeah.
a very good game also in that. Personally, for me though, I'm just more fond of that Suns Warrior game. But no hate to that first game. That's still a very fun game.
Yeah. I think also we brought up Kevin Durant versus Steph for the first time, Kevin Durant versus Braun for the first time.
Yeah.
This is also going to be a revenge game for Chris Paul. Chris Paul's first game against the Suns. That's not in Phoenix, but it is.
Yeah.
It is in the Bay. So yeah, that's going to be a very interesting game. All I'm hoping for is just, for fuck's sakes, can we just go into the season, no one hurt, please?
Yeah. Please let us get this.
I don't want to start anything off.
Man. Yeah, because in the 26th, we have the Lakers versus Suns for the Lakers home opener in LA, obviously. And that was a fun game also. Suns, Lakers. Like we mentioned, this Laker team, man, they look tough. And then obviously the Suns team, with all the moves they made, they both look great going into the season. So that's a dream come true. Like you mentioned, Kevin Durant, LeBron facing off for the first time in 5 years. Like, yeah. That's a pretty big headline right there. I haven't seen them play in a while, and it's always fun when they get together to play it. So I know LeBron's not the same. I know Kevin Durant's not the same, but still be a lot of fireworks there. So I'm excited for that game also.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued by the Phoenix dynamic. Dude, I think they made so many great moves, but I need to see it first. At least a few months of this.
I need to see it first. Yes, I agree. I'm with you on that, man. Because Beal, Kevin Durant, Booker, man, it's
just so many cooks in the kitchen. It's
so many, bro. And you got those role players too. You got some pretty solid role players along with them. So I'm excited to see this, man. And like we mentioned a lot on this channel and on this podcast, DeAndre Ayton, man. Like what's his role going forward? So I'll be excited to see the first few games. And the first 2 games, they're getting tested hard. You go against the Warriors, then you're going to LA. Yeah. Like, you're getting tested. Those are some good games right there to start off the year, man.
Yeah. First matchup, Kevon Looney coming off a career year. First matchup against Draymond. And then you get to go face AD coming off of a resurgence season. DeAndre Ayton is going to be in for a huge,
he's in for our first few games, bro.
Because everybody was assuming DeAndre's probably going to get traded, and they held on. They were thinking about it, but they held on. So this is like, I think when they play the Nuggets, that's going to be the real test, because I think we all think Jokic is going to bitch Ayton, but at the same time, it's like we want to see Ayton like be competitive.
Oh yeah,
big time. Live up to the potential all-star status, right? Yeah. So this is going to be a pretty crazy opening night and home opener for the Lakers. It feels like KD's just making his first appearance versus everyone, right?
Dude, in
5 years.
I know.
Yeah. So that's going to be very interesting. You also had the Christmas Day matchups. And if you want to list off those,
I'll list them all. I'm not going to tell you by the times. I don't think the times have come out yet, correct?
I'm not sure, but probably not.
Yeah, so we have the Sixers and the Heat, pretty solid game. Like we mentioned, we think they blew a few games, but that's all right. We have the Bucks and the Knicks, interesting game, but another one's kind of odd. You have the Warriors and the Nuggets?
Nuggets.
And then the ones I liked a lot, obviously, Lakers, Celtics, always a great game, always fireworks.
Historic. Yeah.
And then the last one is why can't I think of it right now? For the last one. It's really good too. It's the worst part. It's one of the better ones. Let me find it.
Is it a Phoenix matchup or?
Yes. Phoenix, Dallas,
right? Kyrie versus KD for the first time, right? Since right? I think it is, because
that one. Remember the game last year?
They played. Okay,
it did. It was a really good game, also. So they have some history there. Obviously, Luka and the Suns.
Luka and the Suns, KD and Kyrie. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so that's another game. But yeah, we think they blew a little bit of the Nuggets versus Heat. We think they should have did a finals rematch instead of having them play different teams.
And it probably should have been Nuggets Lakers for another Western Conference Finals matchup.
I'm not hating on it. Nuggets.
No, it's still going to be a fun one. Yeah, the Nuggets have had some battles with the Warriors in the playoffs recently. So
big time.
Yeah,
it's still a fun game.
Yeah, Christmas Day is always fun for basketball. Every game seems to be interesting. So definitely going to be some fun matchups there. And then we wanted to briefly talk about the in-season tournament. The in-season tournament, this is the first time it's happening. It's new. I'm gonna get into my boomer stance. I don't know why it's a thing. I feel like it's just a random addition no one asked for.
Yeah.
You
Very
know what
much
I mean? It's
so.
like everyone's like, this is gonna add so much more competition. It's like,
Yeah.
for what? This is
Yeah.
a I
I
don't know what it's playing for, what you're playing for.
I don't
Like,
know, man. I know I'm kind of confused at this point too, but I think as we go on with time, we'll understand it more. But yeah, as of right now, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I personally did not ask for it at all, and we'll see. I mean, I guess I'm excited for it. I mean, it's cool. That's the first time, I guess, but like you said, I still don't understand it, kind of.
yeah, because like if it was one of those things where it's like whoever wins this gets to move up gets to move up a slot in the draft or
Yeah,
something
like
like that,
seeding
or
or something. Yeah.
yeah, or yeah, like if you win the in-season tournament, if you make the playoffs, you're guaranteed home court advantage, like
Some,
that kind of thing, like just an incentive for there to be a reason to play. Because at the moment, it's kind of just like, okay, this is just extra noise for what? I don't know.
yeah.
So, but I guess if you're like, you're just bonkers about basketball at all times, like
Yeah.
I guess,
I get it.
knock yourself out, have fun,
Yeah.
more for you. But
Yeah. No,
um,
yeah, definitely different.
the group draw results. So these are the teams that are going to be playing in the Western Conference. Team A, or Group
Right.
A,
Yeah, yeah.
is Memphis, Phoenix, LA, the Lakers, the
Yeah.
Jazz, and the Trailblazers.
Okay.
Western Group B, Denver, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Rockets. Group C, Kings, Warriors, Wolves, Thunder, Spurs. And then Eastern Conference Group A, it's Philly, Cleveland, Atlanta, Indiana, and Detroit. Group B, Milwaukee, Knicks, Heat, Wizards, Hornets, Celtics for Group C, and then Brooklyn, Toronto, Bulls, and Magic. So that's what the grouping looks like to start. That'll start on November 3rd, and then it'll end with the semifinals on December 7th, and then the championship at December 9th. And that's all going to take place in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. So I feel like I just listed off just the divisions in the NBA. It
Yeah.
looks like it. However, it says these are the group draw results. So I don't know. Again, this is all new to all of us. So I imagine that's what it looks like. Maybe not. But yeah. So, okay, no, that is exactly what the group draw results are. So the NBA tweeted like a month ago which 8 teams will advance out of the group stage. So this is all going to be a tournament to see who can come out of there. So, okay, 8 teams coming out. Yeah, I guess I'm just interested to see what this is. Because like
Yeah.
I said, at the moment, we both don't really understand the point of it.
I don't.
Again, more basketball, I guess. So cool for that. But yeah, what are your thoughts past that? I don't really know. So
Is it added on games to the season or no? Is it just a part of the 82?
yeah, I don't even know if it's like separated or added on,
I
or if it counts or anything. I don't
yeah.
think they specified. I don't know.
I don't know. I just think it's like you mentioned. I think it's just more basketball. I don't know if they're trying to create like an NCAA type environment or it's like a March Madness type thing. I really don't know. It's kind
Yeah,
of a
but even then, it's like March Madness. It's like that's
yeah,
what you're looking forward to.
yeah,
But it's like, yeah,
yeah. In season tournaments, like okay. I mean, I guess like
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Is it to prevent tanking or what is it? I don't get it. Like I really don't understand it.
Yeah, it almost feels like the meme of Damian Lillard with the bubble MVP.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like cool, I guess.
yeah. It's like, okay, man,
For
that's
who?
cool, but like, yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of confused by it. I don't necessarily see a point.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know anything about it.
exactly. No,
Yeah,
it's just an interesting addition for
yeah. I like you said, more
shits
basketball.
and giggles, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of confused as of right now, but I
When
guess.
you're a billionaire, this is the stuff you try. It's
Yeah,
like in the MLB, they're like, let's just keep changing pitch clocks.
yeah,
Everyone's like, okay. All
yeah.
the pitchers are like, why would you do that? And they're like, I don't know. I have the money to. So I guess that's the thing in basketball. I guess they're like, yeah, this is going to draw more people in. I don't see
Yeah.
it, but okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't either, but hey,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, no, they'll never know.
But it's one of those things where let's say the ratings look good, or
Yeah,
at least look like average to the point where they're like, okay, we can expand on this. like we started out, it could be one of those things where we start seeing like your draft could get tied to this. If you just don't really try, if you're sitting all your guys, this could hurt you in the draft. This could hurt, like maybe it limits, like, okay, you can only make 1 or 2 buyout moves.
Yeah.
Where like how crazy would it be if it was like if you literally lose the entire, if like you're the first team eliminated, you cannot make any trade deadline moves. Like shit like that. If they made it like high stakes,
yeah, definitely,
then it would be cool. Yeah. But if it's just like, yeah, just more basketball and tournament style, it's like, okay, but I don't, for what, whatever.
I hope it's like something like the play-in where it gets like, I guess I was kind of questionable on the play-in when it first got added in a few years ago, but now it's just like pretty common. So maybe it'll be something like that where it gets
I think the play-in was also like seeding based. So it was like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of different. Yeah, it's like a lot different. Yeah, it's just something
2 extra team. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like even then it was like I don't know. I really don't know what to think about it as of right now. I mean,
it's like the old saying goes, like, why fix what's not broken?
Not broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting. So
yeah.
To move on from there, we wanted to get into all the FIBA stuff. FIBA is starting to kind of pick up some speed. We're still in the middle of, the national teams having their showcase games. These are just exhibitions. The actual tournament, I don't think starts until like October or August, like in the 20s. I think middle or late of August.
I believe, it's definitely a little bit down the line.
Yeah. Let me check. I think it was August 27th. I could be wrong though.
It's 27th official. Yeah, so it will start, FIBA will start August 25th.
25th. Okay.
Group phase and the final of the flagship tournament, which will tip off in the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. So, yeah, August 25th. Okay. Should be the first game. So, yeah, right now we got the showcase going on. So these are just the exhibition games leading up to it, kind of just getting guys into a rhythm.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Greece and Slovenia because they were kind of the only 2 teams where it was like, here's a superstar, and then kind of like they're by themselves essentially. Yeah. Giannis with Greece, of course, Luka with Slovenia. Giannis, unfortunately, is out for the FIBA tournament with a knee injury. I don't think it's an actual, like, it's going to impact his regular season. No. I don't think it is. I think it's just you're done with FIBA, which sucks for Greece and it sucks for FIBA because, Giannis is 1A, 1B best player in the world. So to lose him is just, it sucks in general. And then Luka missed the game yesterday or the day before versus Slovenia, out with a precautionary knee thing. Yeah. They said he had like a blow to the knee in their game against Spain, in Slovenia's game against Spain a few days back, and they kind of want to take it easy. It sounds like he's still going to be playing in the tournament. They're just kind of, not trying to rush him back. And Slovenia also lost Vlatko Konkar. And we talked a little bit about this before the podcast started. Losing role players like that, Vlatko Konkar might not be a big name in the NBA, might just be kind of a role player. But I imagine in Slovenia, that dude's pretty big. Yeah. As far as talent goes. So losing him, especially for the Nuggets, that's going to suck. That is a role player of yours. And, when you're a champion, typically you're not going to have too much cash to spend. So to lose a role player like that, it sucks. Hopefully he ends up being all good and, he could come back at some point. He's out now, which is better than getting hurt mid-season, so potentially could see Konkar return late next year.
Yeah.
But to start off, game 1 of the USA Showcase, US plays, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Wow, was that a blowout?
Yeah, that was a beatdown.
Yeah, that was one of those games where it's like the D1 Alabama goes up against like a liberal arts school in Michigan. It's just like, it's not fair. It's just, you're getting paid to get beat up. There's nothing more to it. So, you know, we couldn't find any box scores, unfortunately, for any of these games, mostly because I think it's their exhibitions.
I think you're right. That's the only reason I can think of. Yeah.
I think there will be box scores for the actual games. I hope there are, at least, because that'll kind of make it easier. But USA looked good, but again, I don't really know how to compare it yet. I think Slovenia put up a better match or put up a better shot against the US. What are your thoughts about that game? Like, how do you think US played against Puerto Rico?
I mean, one thing I was really ecstatic by, and like, maybe it's just me, but man, the ball movement was fun. And it's so fun to watch these exhibition games. I know people are like, whatever, man, it's just FIBA. It's not even the Olympics, but the ball movement is so much fun. They move the ball around so much. You're going to see so much diversity in the box score. You're going to see 10, 10, 10. Everyone's going to have 10 points. Everyone's going to have a few assists there. There's just a lot of stuff. You see a lot of players like Brandon Ingram right now. I watched a bit of him recently. He's been playing some phenomenal help defense. He's been playing defense for the team. So it's really fun to see him. Obviously, Paulo playing the 5 has been interesting at times. Seeing Draymond play, it's been really fun. Anthony Edwards has been leading the team, not so much today, but Slovenia and against Puerto Rico, he's taken a step. He looks like the man of the team right now. It's very fun to watch. I'm a big fan of almost every player on the team. So it's really fun to watch. It's fun to see guys that you don't necessarily watch. I'm not a big Timberwolves. I never watch Timberwolves, but when I do, I'm only watching it for Edwards. So watching Edwards on Team USA, it's fun. There's a lot of great guys. It's a lot of great teams. I know everyone was clowning on this team because it's a bunch of, I guess,
they're lesser names in the scope of the NBA right now. Yeah,
I personally think they're great players. It's a great team. I think people are a little exaggerating a bit and saying how bad it is. I think it's a very fun team. I love seeing players like this. You get to see other guys put up crazy stuff instead of seeing just the original. So I personally, like, Brunson killed it today. I've been having so much fun watching the games. It's great. It's fun to watch different guys do what they're doing.
Yeah. You brought up the ball movement. It's the entire time I'm watching. It's just like, this is such a Steve Kerr influence. It really is.
Totally.
And like you said, Paolo at the 5, I was like, Steve Kerr was like, Walker, I love you, buddy, but we're running Paolo. We're going small. It's like
small ball. They've been running a lot of small ball too.
Yeah. And the ball movement is there, and you can really see it. And they're a little bit, they have some turnovers and some rough possessions where it's like it's over swinging. That's the chemistry. But I think Steve Kerr's instilling into these guys kind of that, hey, see the ball, touch the ball, you're going to feel better. When the ball sticks in one dude's hand, it's hard to get into a rhythm. But just moving it around, everyone feels involved. And that's why you're seeing these box scores look so diverse. It's not just like 35, 8, 0, And one thing I am interested by, I don't know if you remember this story, but one thing Anthony Edwards has brought up is before he got drafted, he worked out for the Warriors. This is when it was still up in arms of who the Warriors would pick in 2020, if it was going to be Wiseman, Edwards, or LaMelo. And Anthony Edwards was like, I had a terrible workout. I was not prepared. And Steve Kerr and the Warriors really, they ran him, right? They really
throwing up and stuff, wasn't it? That one? Yeah.
They threw him into the mud and to see what it was like. And he did not look good. And he was like, Steve Kerr is pretty much the reason that I am where I am now. Is because he kind of proved to me that I wasn't ready. That I had to step up. So, you were talking about how Anthony Edwards looks like the man of the team. And I think that Steve Kerr kind of almost like showing the same love back of like, hey, I respect that you took that away from that, that workout of, I need to get better. Not, man, fuck the Warriors for doing this. They're just trying to embarrass me. A lot of guys have that approach. You see it, but he was like, I need to get into the room and I need to work on myself. And now we're looking, I think everyone looks at Anthony Edwards and it's like, this is a potential top 5 player in this league. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. All the memes about he's Michael Jordan's kid, it's like the dude's he's nasty. And I think Steve Kerr is kind of telling him like, hey, you are the guy of this team. That's why like I've seen everybody on this team really move the ball except Edwards. Not because we see on the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards moves the ball. He's not just it doesn't live and die with him. Like he's a good player overall.
Yeah.
But right now we're kind of seeing him really take that, offensive approach. And like you said, try to be the man of the team. So it's awesome to see. But also, like you said, Brunson, it's been fantastic. Tyrese Halliburton,
Fantastic.
fantastic, dude. Tyrese is so fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Are there any other standouts you saw from the Puerto Rico game that you wanted to bring up?
Austin Reeves has been really fun also. He's been a cool little pickup that no one probably thought of afterthought, but he's been really
Yeah.
good, swinging the ball around really well. He's been scoring here and there. He's a fun guy to watch right now on that team. I'm not a big Austin Reeves guy, but he's kind of grown on me a bit. This has been a really fun showing for him. I'm kind of excited to see that. I haven't seen too much of Bam here
Is
and
he
there.
playing for them?
I think so, isn't he?
I don't remember.
Maybe
If
not.
he,
No, you know what? I'm sorry.
yeah,
I think I'm thinking of something else. No, not Bam. Trying to think. I haven't seen too much of Josh Hart.
sure. I only saw a little bit of him in the Slovenia game.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, yeah, mostly Brandon Ingram, like I mentioned, it's just fun to see different guys do different skills.
Yeah, that you don't watch typically.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm not used to seeing Brandon Ingram play help defense. I'm not used to seeing this and that. But no, it's been really fun to see different guys take different roles.
Yeah. Game one was definitely fun for that. It wasn't fun, however, to watch Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
I just felt bad, honestly. They were just running loops, and there was like everyone was playing. It was just there. It was a terrible, terrible matchup. Moving on to USA versus Slovenia. This was the game from, I think it was yesterday. It could have been the day before. Quite the game. We talked about to start this whole thing. Luka going out with a knee injury briefly.
Yeah.
He didn't play in this game. Obviously, against Greece, Vlaco Konkar goes out with an ACL tear. So Slovenia down, probably their two best players. I think Luka, obviously, a little more impactful than Vlaco, but still.
Might just be.
And we were talking about before the podcast, something we talked about a couple weeks ago when we were first talking about FIBA and the rosters is Slovenia is probably going to play it like Dallas, where it's just let's surround Luka with shooters and let him go to work and make the decisions. And I didn't watch the Spain game where it was Slovenia versus Spain, but I did watch the highlights, and that's what it was. It was like exactly pinpoint Dallas to Spain or Dallas to Slovenia. Couldn't see any differences outside of the players. They did the same thing, and I don't blame them. Like, Luka is probably the most cerebral player in the league right now. I mean, Chris Paul has seen better days. LeBron's seen better days. But I think prime, we're seeing Luka as like, this dude is the ultimate decision maker. It's pretty crazy to see Slovenia play pretty well without him and without Vlaco. They got blown out. They lost by 30, but it was relatively close for a lot of the game, like within 15 points for quite a bit. And even though it felt like the US was just like they had a death grip on the game, way more athleticism, they were playing the passing lanes so well, rebounding, everyone was making an extra effort. The playmaking was better, but Slovenia was just still chipping away, staying in it. It's one of those things where, like I said before, it's kind of like, it's the snake without the head. There's no head of the snake. Luka is the head of the snake. So not seeing him, you can just tell how anemic that team is. They just don't have a guy to really run things. I was very impressed with the center. I didn't catch his name, but the center for Slovenia, he looked pretty good. He was making quite the impact, backing guys down. He had a pretty good matchup with Paolo, and that was pretty impressive to see. Paolo is not a small dude. May not be a big center height-wise, but he's a beefy dude. And, the dude for Slovenia was matching up. Very impressed there. But like I said, it's one of those things where you can just see how good this team is going to be with Luka. And I think when the U.S. plays Slovenia, when Luka is there, game's going to look a lot different. It's going to look a lot different because that dude's just going to find the open man. Like, I've seen passes from Luka where it's just no look, cross court. Like, he's in one corner, turned around. You're like, there's no way he sees the open man behind him. And then he just finds him. And you're like, how? You know what I mean? So I think even though US is definitely like matchup wise, they should like mow them over. I
Yeah.
think with Luka there, it's gonna be pretty close.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good of a player. I think you said that you didn't watch this one entirely, or
No.
no. You said you saw the highlights though,
I
or
saw a bit
some.
of it. Yeah.
Was there anything in those that like caught your eye? I know we've talked about, it's been a very diverse scoring. It even was in this game, but
Yeah.
anything that you caught?
I saw Edwards had a really good game. I watched a bit of that. I
He
saw
looked pretty
he
good,
led the way
yeah.
for the USA. I saw Brunson did very well also. So I mean, yeah, those seem like the two guys that are probably like the realistic stars of the team, and pretty much like 1A, 1B right there. Probably those two I would say for the most as of right now that I've seen. Definitely
Yeah,
think Slovenia though, they'll definitely probably make the USA play a different brand of basketball with Luka there.
yeah. It's. I feel like it's either going to be they're playing some junk defense where it's like
Yeah.
get the ball out of
The
Luca's hands.
offense, yeah, that might be a
Yeah,
very high scoring game.
yeah. It's either going to be one of those, or I wonder if Steve Kerr is going to be like, just let them run their thing. Just
Yeah.
let's play to them and let them do their thing. I kind of hope they do because I feel like the U.S. just has so much more talent that it's kind of not going to. It's like if you're just going to double Luka all game, I don't know. That's boring. Like
Yeah.
no one wants to watch that. Let's just play standard defense and do our best here. But yeah, no, that team's going to look really good with Luka there. I was also very impressed with again Tyrese. Tyrese has been so good, especially against Puerto Rico. Phenomenal in that game. I've liked Michael Bridges and Cam Johnson, extremely active in the passing lanes, especially Cam Johnson. A lot of the two commentators were talking a lot about how Cam Johnson's not just a stretch big. And it's like, I don't know whoever really saw him as just a stretch big, but he does a lot more. And I think you saw here, like, very active defensively. Even if he might not be in the NBA the best defender, he's active. He's physical. He gets down with it. He gets on the glass. I think he played very well. And he's another guy where, when you're looking at FIBA, these are guys you don't typically watch.
Yeah.
These are also guys where maybe you're like, I kind of want to start keeping tabs on him.
Yeah.
I think the Nets are one of those teams where seeing Bridges, seeing Cam Johnson, I kind of want to keep a tab on them going forward. So very interesting there. The U.S. played Spain today. My TV lies to me. I looked 2 days ago after the Slovenia game. I was like, okay, I want to make sure this time because I got it wrong the last time. I had it down for 7:00 that the U.S. was going to play Slovenia, and it happened earlier. And I was like, what the hell? I thought it said 7. And I looked on my TV this time, and it said 7:00 U.S. versus Spain. Apparently, they played at like 1. I don't know what's going on, why it's not airing earlier, and why I'm getting the replay, but that is what it is. So I didn't get to see the U.S. versus Spain game. I will be watching it tonight. Dom, however, watched the second half. What did you think of how U.S. Looked against Spain? I will say, I saw a little bit of the score on Twitter. At one point, I think it was like 71-69. Yeah. So it was like head and head for a bit.
Close
and I know
for the whole game.
they were saying in the Slovenia game that Spain was going to be a really good matchup for the U.S. So from what you saw, let us know what happened, what you saw.
So it was very close. The second quarter, it was Spain was up 2. After the second quarter, Spain was down, I believe, almost 10. And then at the end of the third quarter, they're within 5 points of each other. And then the fourth quarter comes around. Jalen Brunson, man, he turned it up. Wow. He went off for that team. They were kind of looking sluggish in that game. Third quarter, Austin Reeves had a few good plays, a few good playmakings. He did pretty well on the playmaking side of the ball that game. I was kind of fond of Brunson, man. He's a killer. He completely took over that game. If he does not do that, I don't know if I'm going to say they'll lose, but it's definitely not. They definitely don't win by 10. He definitely put the game out of reach towards the last few minutes of the game. No, that's what I would say is that Brunson was the only reason why they won that game the way they did.
Wow. I know Brunson came off a career year with the Knicks, just played fantastic, led them to the second round or the second or third. No, the conference finals, right?
It was a semi. They lost to the Heat.
Right. In this, right.
Yeah, but he was the only reason why they were in that
pretty
series.
Much.
They were in that series to 6 because if he's not there, they probably get swept. But yeah.
Jalen Brunson, killer. That dude has really, really come into his own since not like getting out of Luka's situation, but
Yeah.
kind of getting his own team.
Yeah. I would say so.
But yeah, Spain apparently is looking really good. So the roster that we have here, this is the same page that had the rosters from 2 weeks ago. So there may be guys that I don't know that are on there yet. But as the roster stands from a couple weeks ago, we got Alberto Albade, Alex Abrinas, who I'm pretty sure has played in the NBA.
Yeah.
Santi Aldama, right? Santi Aldama plays for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Dario Brazula, Victor Clavar. These I imagine are more home names.
Yeah.
Alberto Diaz, Jaime Fernandez, Rudy Fernandez, Usman Guru. You know Fernandez?
He used to play for the Trailblazers. I believe he got drafted in 2007. He got drafted the same year as Derrick Rose. Wow. Fernandez.
Okay.
High flyer. That's all I really remember.
We also got Usman Garuba, who I think was with the Rockets, if I'm not mistaken.
He's on the Thunder because he got traded to the Hawks, and then he got traded to the Thunder.
Right. Who am I thinking of?
No, you're right. He was on the Rockets.
Same guy? Okay.
Yeah, he was on the Rockets. Yeah.
All right. We got the Hernan Gomez brothers, obviously, which I forget which one was in the Adam Sandler movie.
Juancho,
okay. Sergio and Willie Hernan Gomez has actually looked really good with the Pelicans. I think Willie's really coming into his own.
Yeah.
Sergio Lul is there. Joel Perrell, Jaime Pradilla, Juan Nunez, and Sebas Saiz. I hope I'm not butchering any of these names. I imagine I am. And I apologize to the fans of Spain. But there's probably more that are there right now that aren't on this current roster. If you have any names.
I also forgot to mention Jaren Jackson Jr. had a very good game also. Yeah,
Jaren played. He had some good moments too in the game versus Slovenia. So
he looked very good today.
Yeah, that's also an interest, man. I'm thinking of the Warriors-Grizzlies matchups, and Steve Kerr is going to have a little more knowledge of who he's playing against now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spain apparently they seem to be like the matchup everyone's talking about. Obviously, apparently Canada lost their first or second showcase game, which is shocking.
And they lost to someone they really shouldn't have lost to. Also, I didn't watch that game at all, but I saw the box score and I was like, whoa, they lost to someone pretty interesting.
Let's see. Yeah, Canada suffers first loss in FIBA World Cup qualifying.
Was it Argentina or?
Yeah, Canada lost 83-72 to Argentina in the qualifiers.
February, though.
Really?
Yeah, why does it say that? Because I don't think that was. No, like that can't be. No, actually, I don't know.
No, that does say February.
Does it or no? It says it
does. I'm gonna get the.
They almost lost to Germany. I did see a bit of that. They almost lost to Germany. I saw that, but they won. Dude, there was some New Zealand. Was it New Zealand they lost to?
You could be. FIBA World Cup.
No, they blew out New Zealand. They blew out New Zealand.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was the Germany game where they almost lost it.
Talking about. I think it was that because they only won by 1 point. I think they almost lost, but they didn't actually because they blew out.
Yeah. It says Shea led them to a 113-112 victory. That had to have been an impressive game. Unfortunately, I do not seem to be getting those games on TV. Yeah, and they keep happening. No one's telling me about them. So it's like when I'm like, hey, I wonder if Canada's playing. It's like, yeah, they've played twice. I'm like, I don't know where. I haven't heard anything.
I don't think they're on ESPN, are they? Or
I haven't seen them. The Little League World Series is going on.
I don't have cable, so I think they're streaming.
Yeah, right now on both the ESPN channels, it's either been the FIFA Women's World Cup or it's been the Little League World Series, as well as the occasional. I don't know if any of the preseason NFL games have gone on there, but
they're on NFL Network, I think, for the preseason.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So Spain looks to be pretty good, but yeah, I expected Canada to be a little more like dominating because that roster is just filthy. We talked about it a lot. Like it's clearly the superior roster out of anyone. So it is going to be interesting moving forward. Like I said, I haven't watched the Spain game yet. I will be watching that tonight. but there's going to be more. So we're going to be going into that, going into next week. We're getting closer and closer to the actual tournament, just a week or two away. And from there, hopefully we're right around the corner from the actual season, and we'll start doing our player rankings and team rankings and, getting into the more fun stuff and kind of less of the niche stuff. So that is going to wrap things up for this podcast episode, Culture Cast episode 8. Thank you again to Dom. As every video, In the Moment Hoops will be linked in the description. They're pumping out a ton of content, a lot of good content, stuff to check out. So make sure you go over there and leave a like and comment, subscribe over there. Do the same here. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And, hopefully you're enjoying the videos. And, like I said, I know it's slow right now, but things are going to be picking up speed. I have decided that I'm going to continue to do the Warriors post-game reactions on top of the podcast, on top of the other videos that'll take place this upcoming season. So there's going to be a lot more content. Just right now, we're kind of in the middle of nothing. And I don't really want to just put stuff out to put stuff out. I want to, be happy with it. So I'm enjoying doing the podcast right now and just covering the FIBA stuff and all the little off-season things. So that is going to wrap things up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will see everybody next week at some point. So, have a good one. Peace.